Hey guys, welcome to a follow-up on learning how BMWs work. So I've got to preface this with I've never done anything with an F-Series before. And you don't know what you don't know, and I did not know how different the architecture is between an F-Series module and an E-Series. Now I knew they were sending different types of data over the CAN buses. I know the F-Series have different CAN buses, they've got the FlexRay system, they've got a lot of stuff going on, but I didn't mention it in the first video where I sort of thought up this 8HP swap. The F01 7 Series, the early 7 Series, they even have N54s in them. Those things are like, I know they're half, just turn that fan down, I know they are half E-Series and like half F-Series. So they've got some E-Series models and some E-Series and some F-Series models. I didn't really know what the ZGW module did, and that is really the communication bus between the older generation and the new generation stuff. So what I have learned, I got my bench set up working. It was a dodgy cable, so I could actually read everything on the bench properly, and my BIM tool was working anyway, but BIM tool connects directly on the CAN bus. So I could actually connect to everything with BIM tool, but I actually got input and everything else working. It wasn't a quick process. I ended up actually connecting this transmission up to the E93 outside. That's got most of its wiring harness still in there. One thing that did teach me, when you connect an F-Series transmission up to an E-Series, the car recognizes it. And it went from, I can't remember what the error was, but basically every time I connected the CAN bus on the F-Series transmission, that's the normal, actually no, both normal CAN, PT CAN and PT CAN 2, both of those buses, I would get an audible dong inside the car. I wasn't filming because it was so hot. But yeah, the car would actually register the transmission, and then you would get a transmission fault on the dash cluster, which I thought was kind of cool. However, I'm confident that without putting an E-Series flash on a box, or at least having a box with an E-Series flash, there's no way it's going to work in the car. So now, in that first video, I mentioned that there's a gentleman called Taran. Taran is he's 90% of the way there to getting an 8HP working in his E90. However, Taran was using an 8HP from an E70 LCI. My plan was to use originally the E84, but then, sorry, originally the E89, which is the Z4 flash. So again, an E-Series 8HP. Then I sort of switched over to the E84, which is the X1 8HP flash. But it's not going to happen. The only way to do that, I will need a TCU from an E-Series 8HP and then put it in an N55 box. And the cost of doing that is more than an aftermarket controller, so it just doesn't make sense. While I've still got this connected up, I've been pulling my hair out with BIM tool, which is a normal occurrence. I'll just show you guys what we've got. Now, BIM tool, I've never used BIM tool for coding, but I was wondering if BIM tool was going to let me do some coding that WinKFP wouldn't. I did try coding this box with WinKFP when it was in the car yesterday, and I've since tried it on the bench, and you basically get an error on, I think it would send the AIF lesson command, and then it would get a rejection. The box will not respond to AIF lesson, which to my understanding, and I'm learning this as I go, someone correct me if I'm wrong, is basically how standard tools request the information from the ECU, what it is, if that makes sense. So that basically standard tools make sure it's flashing the correct ECU. It doesn't respond to that command. I then managed to set it up in expert mode and basically just force a write to it. And I can't remember what the command is, but it sends a command to get the ECU into like programming mode so that it'll accept a new flash, and it doesn't respond to that command. So it makes sense knowing what I know now, which I didn't know at the start of the week. Basically, the F-Series stuff just doesn't respond to any of the E-Series programming. And for this whole conversion to work, I need E-Series data on the box. Currently, I have my BIM tool connected through Ethernet cable. I'm just going to go back to gearbox. We'll read gearbox data, just make sure it's all working. So we can see there, I have done a separate video on test and tune on clearing the ISN. So I have virginized this gearbox with BIM tool. That took a long time. BIM tool's crap. VVDI is useless. I mean, the software works, but it's just so not finished. The reason I got onto that, and I spent probably a bit more time on that than I probably should have, a gentleman did mention that the F-Series boxes won't take any sort of coding when they're locked to an ISN, which made sense because I could read the backup coding with BIM tool. Hopefully the GoPro's picking it up, but I could not restore coding. So I couldn't actually write any coding to the box whilst it was ISN locked. Don't know why that is. Anyway, I got the ISN off and I still can't do anything on the programming level. I was talking to Bryce. Now, Bryce sort of is watching what I'm doing. He's from BM Retrofits, but he's not that interested in going fast. He's more of a retrofit type guy, which you'd think he'd be all into this gearbox stuff. But anyway, yeah, I was talking to him this morning about how ESYS configures the programming files. So I was looking at these files the other day, the HWEL, the BTLD, the SWFL, and the well, there's two SWFLs. And he was explaining that is like the programming file and the ZUBs for WinKFP. That's how ESYS flashes to these modules. Even though the EGS is on the same hex address, which is hex address 18, and what I've been trying to do with BIMTool, I'll just connect it to the car. Now I've got a CAS in there, which I have then put the FA code for a E-Series 8HP. I managed to find the FA code, but if I go FA calculate, basically I added the FA code for the automatic gearbox for a X4, but it still registers it as a GS19. I don't know what is going on there. But if I try and then program the gearbox with BIMTool, I can actually come down here, and this GKE233 are the program files for the 8HPs, and the one in the X4 2.8 is that ZB number right there. And if I click programming, and like I'll even put in, that is an X4 VIN, sorry, an X1 VIN number. And you might have seen it, but basically we get check connections with the ECU. ECU does not answer error reading hardware number from ECU. So BIMTool's programming is pretty much doing exactly what WinKFP is doing. It's just faster, and it doesn't seem to have the checks. It doesn't work for what I'm trying to do here, but it's the same sort of errors. Yeah, you just cannot write E-Series software to this box. I have had a little bit of play with programming it using BIMTool's F-Series. That's also not going to work because BIMTool won't talk to that unless I have an FEM module or a gateway module. Pain in the backside. Bit of a shame. I was really hoping that we were going to be able to do this, but the only way I think I can make this happen is if we have an E-Series TCU. I don't think it needs to be an E-Series box, but we need an E-Series 8HP TCU. So basically one from a Z4 or a E84 X1, probably rear-wheel drive, I don't know. Guys, so yeah, for now it's a bit of a fail, and the whole idea was try and find a cheaper way of getting an 8HP into your car, into an N54. An N54 that's not huge power. If you're going nuts and trying to chase really fast times, it makes sense just to put an 8HP 70 and a Lamec controller at this point in time. But I thought this might be a cheaper option to improve the way the cars drive. But if you've got to buy a TCU, it's not worth it. I'm not too sure how different the N20, the 2.8i boxes are to an N55 box. I know the torque converters are different, but again, if you've got to buy a 2.8 box and then you've got to buy an N55 torque converter, just do it properly and get a Lamec controller. I think there's not going to be a cheap way of doing this on the stock TCU. That said, if you've got an X-Drive and you have managed to get an E70 LCI box, maybe that'll work. From an N55, maybe that'll work. Taron is going to keep trying. He's got to get the box back in his car and give it another crack now that we've sort of worked out a few other things I think will help his issues out. And I will definitely update the channel if Taron has success doing it on a stock TCU. On the flip side, just so everybody knows, the pistons from Russia have turned up this morning. So I think tomorrow's video, I'm going to compare the Chinese pistons with the Russian pistons. Let's work out a bit of a plan of attack for the engine build on the Flomax car. I have got tracking details from Turbo Lamec on the Lamec controller kit, and I was expecting that to take a long time from Poland, and it's looking like it's only going to be a week. So I think we're going to have to push the stock TCU 8HP swap aside, get on to the Flomax car, which is going to be more exciting. And I think Dave, who owns the 135, is going to have to work out if he wants to do the swap or if he wants to just service his 6HP. Dave, you better watch this video and let me know below. But for now, there's the update. Basically, the E-Series and the FTCUs are so different, there's no way you can get an E-Series ZUB onto them, unfortunately. Bugger. I don't like not getting stuff done. I'm very persistent. All right, guys. Sorry I couldn't work this one out. Yeah, if you're in Australia and you happen to have an 8 HP out of an E-Series available and you want to donate a TCU, I'd love to try it with that and just see how we go. Guys, thank you very much for watching. Catch you on the next one.